Hello everyone, and welcome to the Seriously Tries, Not Quite Serious podcast. It's me, Dan, bringing you another amazing show. Now, this week I'm sitting in for Leon, who's off with a bit of a cold, so he's not able to talk much. And I'm not going to be running the show alone. I've brought in some outside help. Gekidami?
Yes, indeed. I am the help from outside. I am replacing old Leon as he has the man flu.
Yeah, he's not able to talk right now, so better to draft in someone that can get this show on the road.
Yeah, and this show will be on the road.
Yeah, pretty much
post-haste.
Right now. So on today's show, we've got our usual smorgasbord of food, news, and games. And what better than to, well, before I pack into the food, do you want to tell the people about yourself a little bit, Gekidami? Where have you come from?
Yes. Where I come from? Well, I come from the Gekidami channel, my own channel, named after myself, with my name on it. And I do a game stream, I guess. We call it a show. It's really just streaming. We have a intro and outro to it and all that jazz. With you, of course. Where we play some random games. We don't play the latest games. We don't play hot topic games. We just play random games.
Yeah, we're not exactly the cool crowd.
No, we play. I guess we kind of play obscure games in a way. Kind of the dregs of Steam from time to time.
But we give some games their due. It's pretty long-running 5-6 episode sets, and sometimes 1 episode sets.
Yeah,
we've busted through like 70 games now. Quite the collection.
Quite the collection, and we're slowly approaching 200 videos on the channel. At least 200 relevant videos. And
we'll get more onto that later. But for now, we're going to crack on with the food section of the podcast. It's everyone's favourite section, I know.
Yeah, I love this section. It's time for DDK to shove food down his gullet.
So, the food section is going to be going out onto the YouTube channel as a separate video. So if you've been watching this on the YouTube channel, you can come on down and listen to the Not Quite Serious podcast. Where on today's show, we've got news about the Equifax hack. We've got chatting about the Netflix series Glow. And we'll be talking about the games like Left 4 Dead. But you're not here for that. You're here for the food. And today, you can hear me rustling around really noisily. Some delicious Tostitos chips.
Whoa.
Just going to pop these open. Just cover your ears for a second. I'll hold them away from the mic. Oh. So these Tostitos.
It's great because it's like interactivity for the podcast. Because, we can hear the packet and everything. Yeah. It's like we're there.
It's a rich tapestry of sound. Yeah. Just going to read the pack a little bit. It's a great big white pack. It's bit about the same size as those Doritos Heat Burst packs that I had earlier on the channel earlier in the year. I think quite a while now. Obviously, these are made by Nuevo. Nuevo. Don't know how to pronounce that. It says at the bottom here, drizzle. Don't dip.
What's that mean? Well, wait, I know what that means. Yeah, it means pour on, right?
Yeah, pour on the salsa. Which, these were placed next to, in a big display case, next to an accompanying salsa dip. Which is a bright red dip. There were actually 2 flavours, but I've gone for the mild grilled pepper and pasta. Comes in a big glass bottle. Both the chips, the tortillas, and the dip. Well, I say dip, but they say drizzle, don't dip. The salsa,
yeah,
£1.25 each. So, given the size of this pack, that's not too bad. And the thick quality glass container, although you do end up just chucking these away afterwards. So I don't know too much about that. But anything to learn?
So I can't actually see this. Is that actually a glass container?
Yeah, solid glass.
A real glass container, solid glass. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, big and got some heft to it. Huh. These are a hint of chipotle flavour corn chips. just going to pour a few out onto this handy dandy bowl that's just below the camera. And then throw the package over there.
Bowl not included.
And yeah, the slightly speckled triangular tortillas, fairly big in size. Give it a good smell. Smells of pepper. Not quite getting the chipotle yet, but I'll try one without the salsa first. Go on then, let's have a go.
Oh, he said it.
Yeah. The chipotle is very subtle, but it kind of leaves a nice aftertaste. It's like sausagey aftertaste. But you're hit initially by the pepper taste. It gets in the back of your throat a little bit as well. But these were designed to be had with this delicious salsa, which on a further examination, I really should have opened this beforehand. The salsa is locked in the tightest of lids, and you just have to... Wow, there really is no... Yes, there is a subtle thing to tear at to free the lid from its confines. You hear that sound effect there? Some good radio, that.
Yep. Or a video from the other video. But this is, yeah.
Yeah,
separate video.
Video segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't really drizzle. I just kind of guzzled it on top.
Well, salsa sauce is generally thick, so yeah, you can't really drizzle it, can you?
Yeah, I'm a little unsure about their drizzle don't dip campaign. Well, there you go. So
maybe they want you to put like icing sugar on it, or something.
I don't know how well that would work. So here we are, a nice drizzled tortilla. It's very good. I mean, it is what it is. It's a tortilla chip with salsa. I mean, what else would you expect? I quite like these. I'm not 100% sold on the price, because pairing them with that expensive salsa of £1.25. But at the same time, you get a lot of them. There's plenty to guzzle on there. As long as that's not an introductory price, I am happy to give that a thumbs up just about. But was that to be like up to like £2 or something for each of the parts, I would be so happy. I brought a drink along for today's show. Some Naked Vitamin Power. Now this is a one of those healthy drinks, juiced. You juicing loads of apples and things to make the fresh juice drink.
Oh, like a smoothie.
Yeah, it's got apple, pineapple, kiwi in it, and yes, it is a smoothie.
So it's the texture's kind of thickish, I imagine.
You can hear the thickness. It's a horrible dishwater green. So if you wanted to pretend you just washed the dishes, you could pour some of this on the side. Any interesting blurb about this? It's 57 calories for a quarter of it. So about 250. That's par for the course, really, for something about this size.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. I have actually heard that apparently smoothies are pretty poor for your health in terms of calories compared to other drinks.
Definitely packed with lots of natural sugars.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Although
apparently, you get more sugars and calories in some of those smoothies than you do in like a can of Coca-Cola.
I will say the size of this is a bit smaller than, say, a bottle of Coca-Cola. It's 450 mils. Actually, that's only 50 mils smaller than a bottle. I'm surprised, actually, because a 500 ml bottle of Coca-Cola is bigger than this normally, but yeah, this is nearly the size. Wow. Well, I'll give it a good smell. It smells like a sort of a rich fruit smoothie. There's apple in there. I don't smell any kiwi. Really, it's just the smell of apple. I'm gonna get this drunk then. Go on then, let's have a smoothie.
Swig.
Yeah, mate, swigging that goodness down.
Actually, couldn't, no. That's why I had to add in the sound effect of swig, because there was no sound at all.
It's a good smoothie, but here's where the things get a little bit dicey. That was £2.36. That is just staggeringly expensive for such
I think the theme of the show has gotten to your head. You're spending that kind of money on
I know.
food items.
I hadn't really spotted how dear that was.
Did you only spot it when you looked at the receipt at home?
Yes.
What?
Yes, I just sort of, oh yeah, I'll get that. Well, that's my food and drink portion of the podcast. I'm going to have to give it a thumbs down because it's so expensive. There's nothing special about it. It's just a normal smoothie that you've had millions of times before. On with the podcast. Check out the Not Quite Serious podcast with me and Gekidami.
Yeah, as a special guest.
So that was the food section. I've stopped the old video now as we're moving swiftly on to the news. Yes, unfortunately that does mean there's no beerish faction this time round.
Drink beer, so I can have beer, so I can get my beer's faction.
But I'm sure it'll be back in the future, so keep your eyes peeled or ears peeled for that.
I'm not a alcohol drinker, so I could not fulfill the role of beer's faction.
No.
And Mr. Dan here, who I don't know, why didn't you decide to grab a drink and swig it?
Grab a beer. Mostly because it was kind of short notice, the health element, so we both kind of got caught out on that a little bit. Moving on to the news, we've got, I guess I'll open with my news article that I've dug up from the internet these last 2 weeks. And apparently, hackers have found a way to control the voice assistant on your phones by emitting ultra low frequency sounds. So it's like below 400 hertz or something like that, 20 kilohertz. So low that you can't hear it, but microphones can still pick it up. Just means that they can like say, hey Siri, unlock, visit this website and things like that. Although, as far as I'm aware, it hasn't affected Siri quite as much as the other assistants, because Siri has more of a training thing where you sync it to your voice, so they'd have to be very particular to get a adequate sound to unlock it if they were trying to hack Siri. I'm pretty sure that this is affecting Google services. It's affecting the Samsung Assistant. And
I can develop a bit more on this story, being an expert in all things.
In all things, yes.
In all things, just in all things in general. Yeah. So essentially this was something that was put forward as a theory at one point, like last year, and it was actually officially tested as possible by a scientist from China's Zhejiang University, who actually managed to do it in the lab. So apparently they managed to successfully do it on several services. It mostly controls Siri, Alexa, and Google Now. It's kind of a non-issue though, really. Ultimately, they're calling it a dolphin attack, of course, because dolphins communicate through ultrasound and all that. Apparently, they actually managed to do it on some Audi car navigation systems as well, which is pretty funny.
It has me mildly concerned in like.
Oh, you really don't need to be. It's pretty much a non-issue. So the lowdown essentially is that what the test revealed is that it needs to be done really, really close to the person's phone. It also needs to be in a relatively quiet environment, and it's apparently just not very effective in doing anything. I mean, a phone. If you ask a phone to do something, it needs to be unlocked anyway. You're going to have your phone so close to you that you're constantly going to hear the thing being activated. And
True.
and you know, I mean, let me demonstrate this. Hi, Bixby.
I suppose there is that, the fact that
Open Chrome.
most of this audio services barely work to begin with.
Tell me your voice password to continue.
Voice password. See, they can't do anything without a password, and that's the same with all the other services. So, and another thing that has been pointed out is that essentially, very, very easily, if this was to become a real issue, a simple patch would fix it. They'll essentially just patch out the ability to listen to such high frequencies.
True. As long as people
So-
know it's happened.
Yeah, but yeah. Hang on, let me bring up the figures. So, a dolphin attack asked Siri to turn on airplane mode was 100% successful in an office, 80% successful in a cafe, and just 30% successful in the street. They also found out that you apparently need to be should have highlighted this stuff, I guess, but it's like ridiculously close. You have to be within a few feet of the phone.
Is there
And,
any chance they could put out a mighty loudspeaker thing, which is like just really busting out the noise that you can't hear?
Well, that's the thing, you see. It's a noise you can't hear, so the phone also only can just barely hear it over everything else.
Yeah, that's true. If there's any other noise, it kind of stops it. That puts me at ease, and the fact that it's barely usable.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's kind of a funny thing that it's possible, but yeah, it's not really a threat in any reasonable sense of a threat to your security.
Ah,
But yeah,
it's good
it's a
to
funny
know.
little experiment.
It's interesting that it's kind of something that doomsayers have mentioned for a long time, as you say, and only now has it kind of been demonstrated. Who knows if someone's pulled it off in secret, like a private investigator?
Maybe if you don't. I'm not actually sure if you can have no voice password, but apparently even then, without a voice password, you still essentially need to open your phone to access like the browser and stuff. One fear that was put forward was that apparently it could be asked to essentially access a site which would then download a malware.
Yeah.
Or phone like a 0800 number that would cost money. Which is actually a more credible threat because it's been quite known for many years now that using simple Bluetooth, people can activate your phone and dial one of those pay numbers. Essentially have your phone running in your bag whilst it's phoned to some highly expensive phone service.
Phones have way too many radios on them these days.
Yeah.
They're just a mind trap.
But if you want to talk about real threats, a threat to security, and let's talk about the Equifax database leak.
Oh, yes, I hear that quite a serious amount of information has been lifted from Equifax.
They were hit by the biggest hack in American history. And just before this, though, I'll swig some of this sponsored water because my mouth is getting dry.
Oh, and I still have my fruit smoothie.
Yeah, my one was a bit cheaper than yours. H2O, a bottle of H2O is probably free. Probably not. I don't know. That's to ponder, really. How much does a bottle of water cost compared to, on your water bill? Let's do the math together. So, wait, let's not. So, Equifax database breach. So, Equifax is, of course, a crediting agency. I'm not entirely sure what a crediting agency is, to be honest. It's not really something that exists where I live. Oh, I live in France, by the way. I'm not sure if I noted that. They're pretty big in the US because everyone has credit cards over there and credit debt. But
there
recently,
are plenty of credit marketing kind of companies. They check your, I think they check your credit score and analyze
Yeah.
that. And then when when you want to make a loan, other companies come and check your credit. But apparently, all that information is now for sale.
Yeah, and they clearly do exist in the UK because apparently some UK customers were affected, and Canada. So the actual details of the hack are, who did it and where this info has gone isn't too clear. What is clear is that pretty much every type of information was leaked, from mostly social security numbers.
That's pretty bad.
That is pretty bad. Date of births, addresses as well. Apparently only 2,900 were... 200,000, I should say. Credit card numbers were hacked. So it's a pretty small amount compared to the overall hack, but still, credit card numbers out in the wild.
It's plenty of information that you could build together enough background information of someone to pass by, like security questions on other services. If you're able
you
to
definitely
link enough.
Yeah, it might be a small amount of people who had their credit card numbers stolen, but you definitely don't want your credit card number out there.
No.
That's essentially, all your money gone.
Oh dear.
And so the FBI are looking into it. Apparently, UK customers may have been affected, and Canada as well. They haven't actually said how many UK customers or Canadian customers exactly yet, though. We're kind of just saying 143 million in general.
No, I live my life in constant fear of being hacked.
Yeah,
everything I own being robbed away.
Yeah, as you can tell by the Rory DDK had of his ultrasound phone. Well, his phone being hacked by ultrasound.
Oh, so whilst they're hacking me at ultrasound, they'll be purchasing more ultrasound hacking equipment with my credit card.
Yeah, they will, and they'll also be using your address to sign up for more credit cards to buy more ultrasound hacking stuff to hack your phone with.
I've not really tried it before, but I believe there's a website that someone's established using stolen database information called haveibeenpwned.com.
Yeah, I was actually about to mention that. Haveibeenpwned.com. Yes, you put your email address or your username, and it says if you've been pwned. I've actually been pwned. I was pwned apparently from Battlefield Heroes.
Well...
So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of when you make accounts for these rubbish little games and things, and then time goes on, you don't really think about them.
No,
and then
Battlefield Heroes is owned by EA. I mean, seriously, you'd expect them to keep a pretty tight hold on that stuff. Luckily, I've never had any suspicious activity go on. I have had people try and access my email and try and reset the password. And same for log me in. Log me in is something I constantly get emails about. People trying to reset the password on.
I got apparently someone got into my eBay account, something I'd stopped using about 5 years ago, so I didn't even think anything of it. But there's still that kind of threat that exists out there in that stuff that you've just abandoned and don't use anymore. You don't think about it. Because, who cares? Who uses eBay anymore? But, yeah, people got into it. It tripped the internal alarm of eBay, and the account was locked automatically. And nothing bad happened with it, and I was able to change all the credentials afterwards. But, yeah, it's still an example of you've got to be really careful with any account you make, even if it seems... Even if you stop using it, you've got to go back and deal with it somehow. Shut it down or update the password.
I guess the moral of the story is that you have to have a separate password for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
As well.
It's impossible to remember that, so you kind of try to... You could store it somewhere, but when that gets hacked, you're done.
But when it comes to something like Equifax, you're powerless, aren't you? I mean... That
information, I think, is gathered externally from when you're using banks and the like.
Well, apparently that's the thing as well, is that they not only had information gathered from themselves, but apparently they purchased information from other places as well. So you can't really do much to stop that information from getting leaked in that case. Rather than just not have a social security number or not have a credit card or anything.
You just have to
and
go
that's
off
just
the
not
grid.
reasonable. Yeah, and that's just not reasonable.
It's a shame you can't escape the hacking death that is.
You can't really escape it, no. I remember back in the day when the PlayStation Network got hacked, and literally nothing happened of that. Nothing came of it. They stole email addresses, I think, and that's about it. And people quite complained, well, why isn't Microsoft getting hacked? Because Sony are lazy, they didn't pay attention, their security was weak. But then, Yahoo had 1 billion records exposed. Friend Finder Networks had 412 million accounts hacked. US voting records were hacked, 200 million.
Yeah, and that's...
So there's nothing that can be done. It just happens.
It's inevitable that someone's just going to come for your money.
Pointing the finger is
8
kind
billion
of
people in the
pointless.
world, and I imagine 2 billion of them are trying to hack you at any one given time.
Probably, yeah. So there really isn't much that can be done with this kind of thing. What could, if you want to point the finger at someone, though, there is some people you can kind of say did some shady business, and that was with Equifax, right? Because once they discovered the cyber attack in mid-May, some amazing executives decided to sell off their shares
Huh.
for 1.8 million.
Well,
This was before they revealed it to the public, by the way.
That sounds like the greatest way to quickly buy out the company.
Yeah, so these executives sold off their stock for a load of money, and then they revealed that the hack happened, and their stock suddenly crashed. But they were safe, because So they did recently say that the guy had no idea the hack happened, despite the fact that they sold it after the hack happened. But the official line is that they had no idea. So yeah.
I'm sure that's the official line.
Yeah.
As he pulls the line on his golden parachute.
Yeah. That's amazing, though, isn't it? Just selling off stock before.
Oh, it's a horrible world.
Sony apparently kind of lagged behind as well, announcing that the hack happened, but I don't think anyone sold off stock. Made like a bandit.
I've never really heard about that or not. No.
No.
We'll move on
I guess
to
we should
more
move on then. Yeah.
more positive things. Let's say positive. Well, this is the wrestling section of the show. Obviously, the greatest section since show sections began. And a little bit of wrestling news I've picked out. Of course, we just got done with SummerSlam and the WCPW Wrestling World Cup the other week. And those shows went off without a hitch, really. Pretty good going. The beach ball fiasco continued a little bit in the back in the last podcast I mentioned a wrestler got fed up with the fans playing with beach balls rather than getting involved watching the show, and so he walked into the crowd, snatched the ball and popped it.
Was that kayfabe?
No, that was the wrestler legitimately getting fed up with it.
Wow, really?
As a response, crowds have been bringing in more and more beach balls to the point where WWE have had to ban them outright. So, the situation got really out of hand, and I'm glad they've been banned, really, because it's just disrespectful to the show, really, if you sat there messing around with a beach ball.
I know that in some concerts they do that on purpose, like between songs. They throw out a beach ball.
Yeah, but they're throwing the beach ball around during the main parts of the show, during the most expensive wrestlers doing the most complicated sequences, and they're just throwing the ball around.
They begin to throw it around, especially when John Cena comes on, because it's just so fed up with John Cena.
It wasn't so bad at first. At first, they were just throwing it around during one of the quiet, speaky segments where they were probably designed for people to get up and go to the toilet. That's okay. That's kind of what it was intended for. But then they just really got a bit malicious with it. So,
my brother once went to a wrestling match, and apparently there was he didn't mention any beach balls being thrown around, but he did mention that apparently signs that were being held up for too long and blocking people's views got tore up by security.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Particularly, apparently people bring in signs of rival companies like WCPW signs and things. They'll get snatched away. Like WCPW had these John O'Clock signs, and so they started pulling them down.
Yeah, you can see several videos on YouTube, compilations of really awkward, bizarre, and rude signs people bring up to wrestling events, even some sports events.
It gets a little bit more grey with the world of wrestling in the fact that apparently the wrestlers are going to have to be working Christmas Day and New Year's Day now because their weekly show, Raw, takes place on a Monday, and apparently that's when Christmas is. And the show changed to a live format a few years ago. So every show is live. So apparently it was an argument between the WWE and the channel that airs it, that it has to be a proper show and it can't just be a cop-out clip show.
Oh, yeah.
So I think some of the wrestlers' families are not too keen on that turn of events.
I mean, come on, these guys get paid millions.
They get paid, I suppose.
You know, I've done work. I've done jobs where I have to work on Christmas Day before.
Oh, Christmas Day though.
And I didn't get paid millions to do it either. I just had to. Cause but you know, they needed me for that day, and I had to work on that day.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be fine, and they'll just carry on working through. And that's my wrestling 2 pence. Not much.
Yeah.
But, it's
but I believe you kind of want to segue into another wrestling thing, but not exactly.
Well, sort of segueing a little bit
se.
into entertainment as a whole. This particular entertainment aspect from Netflix, and it is a show based on wrestling. It's called Glow, and it stands for the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Now, apparently in the 80s, this was a real wrestling production that was aired in the US. It's basically all females wrestling, and this show isn't actually a serious documentary. It's like a dramatized kind of retelling of that kind of the events that led up to the creation of that show. So you've got like your collection of I think it's like a dozen or so different women, all different from different backgrounds and different body types and things, all taking the different roles in the show. The show's a little bit sexist and a little bit racist because it basically takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, it's done on purpose, like parody of it. I've heard that it's really progressive from some people, though. Like, you know, I guess it's parodying racism, sexism, but from what I've heard, some groups are quite happy with it in terms of its progressiveness.
The critics quite like the show. I personally really enjoyed the show. It's a nice story about how this the group of women have come together to create this show. They basically struggled to get other jobs. The main character is she's an actress, and she's just not getting any roles other than background roles where you're just like a receptionist going, "Here's your phone call, mister."
Extras.
So she's not even able to get the main lead roles because they're all men roles. That was that kind of agenda that gets pushed slightly in the show.
Is it pushed to like a nauseating amount now, or? Because I haven't seen this. I should precise.
I wouldn't say I was nauseated at any time. It was
You didn't feel like I don't know, because there are some things that kind of seem to be pushing a kind of annoying angle these days, and you kind of like, ugh. I mean, not really annoying, but it's kind of hitting you over the head a bit too much, maybe.
Well, I wouldn't say I was hit over the head. You know, it's wrestling, right? With a steel chair. It's a fine show. It's got a nice sort of drama storyline. It's got funny jokes in it, and makes you think a little bit. So, that being said, I quite enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I'd have to watch that. I've seen it on. I've seen it on Netflix. I tend to shy away from comedies.
Ah, yeah, that's probably it is somewhat comedy, so you're probably not gonna like it if you don't like comedy kind of things.
I don't know.
It's not slapstick or anything. It's serious to an extent.
It's like just clever comedy.
Yeah.
Is it an English thing or an American thing?
American.
Huh. Actually, yeah. Yeah, I'll check that out. It sounds quite decent.
I think otherwise in the world of entertainment, I believe you've been checking out something else on Netflix as of recent.
Well, seeing as we're on the subject of Netflix, I know that's something we have both watched, and that is, of course, the amazing Marvel's Defenders. And I say amazing,
Defenders.
which I mean not amazing. Well, I don't know. Me and you kind of had this off-air discussion about it.
Yeah,
and,
I kind of like the show sometimes, but other times I don't kind of like it.
When you say the show, you mean the Defenders specifically?
Yeah,
like the Marvel,
yeah. Not like the whole overarching thing.
it had good moments. It wasn't as bad as Iron Fist. Iron Fist was terrible.
I like the artistic effect to it. Like when you're on a character on their own, it has like everything's lit yellow for
Yeah.
Luke
Yeah.
Cage's world and green for Iron Fist.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Pretty sure that didn't exist in the individual series.
No, it didn't, though. Done on purpose. I don't quite like how they have a grain filter on it, though.
Is
It's
that
kind of weird.
throughout
It's
the
got
whole
like a
thing?
grain
Is it
filter on
just-
it. Yeah, it's like a grain filter throughout the whole thing. It's kind of annoying watching it in 4K when you watch something else in HD and it has a better image quality than it. Because annoying grain filter to put on it. Plot-wise, I think Iron Fist has left such a poor taste in my mouth that anything to do with that plot at this point just bothers me. The whole hand thing.
Well, they spent an entire, was it 8 episodes? Fighting against what appeared to be a team of 5 people with like 5 foot soldiers that they could control.
The Great Hand, who is this global organization, existed for thousands of years apparently. Looks like a street gang.
Yeah, they just didn't.
When they're on
They
the
lacked
field.
any kind of oomph or mass to them.
Yeah, did they even feature those ninjas in it anymore? I don't recall those ninjas even being in it. Because I remember in Daredevil season 2, you get the hospital scene, right, where these ninjas raid the hospital, and that's like, wow, the hand, the hand looks so badass, and then you don't see that anymore. Why didn't they do that?
And you just see these.
You see like these street
hand
gang
leaders
guys.
randomly dealing with things personally rather than just sending men to do it.
Yeah, the hand leaders do everything by themselves, don't they? And they do it like poorly.
Yeah, they just.
They're just not effective at doing anything on their own.
And as the series drew towards the end, I'll try not to bring every kind of spoiler out, but they just seem like a bunch of goons doing a random mining operation. Come on, we gotta get this.
The only thing that really separated them from any other villain was, I guess, the fact that their leader was rich and had that, lived in like that nice-looking base place.
Yeah.
What was the difference ultimately between, what was his name, Fisk? What was his name, the Kingpin? What was the difference between the Kingpin's operation and the Hand in the Defenders?
Well, I guess it was a rich guy, but I think the thing with Fisk was that he was more of a character on his own, right?
I don't mean in terms of character. I mean, like in terms of organisation. What makes the Hand look more important than Fisk's organisation?
It's true.
Because Fisk's organisation is just like a criminal organisation in one city. The Hand is meant to be global, spanning thousands of years.
Well, they got that like weird cotton factory thing in China that's guarded by that drunken Fisk master.
Oh god, don't remind me of that. That was terrible. That random warehouse they went to film at one day.
Yeah.
Oh god, I can't believe. And they had the security guards walk around with those Chinese pole arms. Oh my! Oh, that was so bad. It was so bad.
Well,
Iron Fist was
ninjas.
terrible. Iron Fist was terrible. It feels like they had this amazing budget with the Hand in Daredevil season 2, and then I don't know. They must have spent all the budget on something else, because by the time Iron Fist rolled around, it was just bad. Everything was bad.
They didn't
And
create
it kind of extends into the Defenders.
in the Defenders. They're still dealing with that same Hand. It's pretty much Iron Fist 2 for the most part, with a big Daredevil subplot. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage barely significant in that
Jessica
series.
Jones does nothing. She feels pointless. She really does feel like a back character. Literally, she's only just better than an extra in it. And you can tell that they have no idea what to do with Luke Cage. Luke Cage is so here's the thing about Luke Cage. You got Daredevil, who is who's just a guy who knows martial arts and who can see despite the fact that he's blind. You got Iron Fist, who he's just really a normal guy who can fight well, and he has that fist that can activate in like 2 seconds. Jessica Jones has super strength, but then she doesn't have anything else. And then, so they're like the three, they're the Defenders, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Luke Cage, and Luke Cage is immortal. He's invincible. He has super strength. Luke Cage is on the level of the Avengers.
Yeah.
So what that equates to, right, is what that makes is that makes amazing scenes where they're fighting in the Defenders are fighting in that Chinese restaurant, and Luke Cage is literally just he's just squirming around this guy who can't injure him, and he just doesn't touch him. He's like, he can't grab him because it will just end the plot, end the scene. So he's just like squirming, they're just like doing nothing. And it looks so awkward. You can tell they have no idea what to do with Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage is he's just there.
He's just there. He's just squirming around. I feel that another character, I should say, they had no idea what to do with was Elektra.
Oh yeah, Elektra.
They hyped up this Black Sky, Dark Sky. I can't remember. I constantly forget which one it is. Black Sky, right? Black Sky.
Well, she seemed significant back in the Daredevil season.
Season 2. Yes, and then she's just not. She does nothing. She's not important. She has no real capabilities. Well, no, she can fight, but that's it. She was meant to be some super duper secret weapon. If you remember in Daredevil season 2, there was that other Black Sky, the kid who was in that container.
Oh yeah. What was that? Was that the source they used to make Black Sky?
No, that was literally another Elektra, another Black Sky kid who was apparently this ultimate weapon.
Also, the ultimate weapon, as powerful as a bit of a ninja.
Yeah, as powerful as a pretty average ninja who can go toe to toe. Well, to be fair, Daredevil does say that she could have killed him several times.
Yeah.
I guess he does say that. I don't know. It looked like they were going pretty toe to toe to me though.
I mean, they were going for the whole love story kind of angle. That was kind of the main point of her kind of being the villain, overcoming it for love.
Yeah, but she wasn't the end all be all like she was made out to be. I feel like the writers just didn't know what the end game was with that. I feel like a lot of the plot elements had no end to it, and that's something I also think happened in Iron Fist as well. Is that essentially they were making it up as they went along.
The whole kind of feel of the series does change randomly a few points. It takes a big 90-degree turn.
Yeah, and Defenders, I feel like they were making that up as they went along as well. The whole thing just feels made up on the spot.
Normally these seasons take a bit of a turn about 8 episodes in as they go into their second arc. But yeah, Defenders kind of went through like 2 or 3 arcs in its really short 8-episode run.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they really shouldn't do anything like that again. Moving on. The hand should be gone forever, hopefully. I feel like, Dead Thing is there, will survive. Elektra probably survived as well. And it doesn't show Madame Guang, was her name?
Yeah, she was like the
didn't
main
show her
villain
die.
in most of the of all those series.
Yeah, Shinga, we didn't see her die directly. She'll still be alive as well. So I feel like the hand's gonna come back.
Oh, you can cut off the head of a serpent, but another head will rise.
Or the dragon in this case.
Yeah.
The Iron Fist and Defenders were so bad I was actually thinking about making a video about them. Unfortunately, that would mean I'd have to review over 13 hours of content.
Well, that's quite the yeah.
And no, I'm not doing that.
You probably have to watch the other series just to cut back to how it's different.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
But that's how YouTubers are. They put in the legwork.
I mean, if I was getting 1 million views, sure, but I'm not. So I'm not putting in that kind of legwork.
Well, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Maybe we'll make it big. Maybe we'll be pulling in the great moolah on YouTube, and I'll be pumping out videos full time, putting my life on hold to do that.
Speaking of making it big, let's go over the games we've played recently.
Yeah, so this is quite convenient for us, isn't it? Because we actually play games together on Game Geki.
Yeah, that's the other YouTube channel that we do.
Yep, and I believe in that case that first game you want to talk about is one we both played.
Left 4 Dead. It's the 2008 game from Valve themselves, I believe. It's nearly 10 years old now, and it's your kind of up to 4 players team up, or you can play it with AI assistants. And your team of 4 will go toe to toe with a horde of zombies. You have to survive. It's kind of like a fast-paced action survival horror, and you play for a series of scenarios, eventually facing off against, I guess, the tank at some point.
The tank, yeah. 2 tanks at the end, generally.
The game...
Or 5.
Oh yeah, or 5. The game is it's a load of fun. But and again, we probably covered this in the Game Geki episode, to be honest.
Yeah, we kind of gave our opinions at the end of that. I guess this will be like a recap for us. Maybe we've had time to think about it. My opinions haven't changed too much. I mean, I kind of say that knowing that this isn't the same crowd or the same channel, so we might as well retread it a bit.
Yeah, you're fighting off zombies that'll be running out of nowhere. A couple of zombies that'll be kind of just placed around the map, looking all sinister and leaning against the wall. That's a little bit of story to them.
Yeah, I think the story is meant to be that your group of characters is immune. Seeing as each map you play isn't necessarily canon to the last one, and there's no real plot going through the whole game.
It does seem just to be a retelling of the same story 6 times.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you mentioned different scenarios, I kind of had a twinge. I went, oh no, because it's not different scenarios; it's just different maps. It's the same scenarios on different maps, constantly the same. You have to press a button, the horde comes, and then at the end you have to hold out for the thing to get you out of the level.
Yeah, and you've got these 4 basic enemies. There's the witch, which is like a woman that's knelt on the floor crying. When you go near her, she gets up and murders one of your team.
Yeah.
Unless you can shoot her quickly enough.
Yeah.
There's the smoker, which is a sort of a gas-emitting zombie, which if it sees you, it'll stick you with its big tongue and try to hang you if it's above you, or just kind of strangle you if it's on the same level.
Yeah, the smoker's interesting.
Free you by hitting you.
Yeah, the smoker's an interesting gameplay element in that it, can essentially put one of the players out of the game for a bit. Same as the hunter, really, but this one could do it at a distance. I didn't quite understand the whole smoking part though, because it doesn't really affect you.
Yeah, it's not very smoky, other than it explodes when it dies, and then you.
Yeah, it just emits smoke when it dies. I don't quite see the relevance to that.
Vision goes down a little bit.
I guess is that really the whole point of it? Because it's like a ranged enemy as well, isn't it? So.
And then there's the hunter, which isn't ranged, but he jumps around the place really quickly, and he's on you before you know. If you don't have any players around to knock the hunter off or kill it, then you're going to die very quickly, as it's scratching at you. You shoot him off, and
I guess when you think about it, the hunter and the smoker essentially serve the same purpose in the game, and that's to
stop your team from splitting up too much.
To punish anyone who's run ahead or staying behind too late, but it's also to sap, in a way, one of the players, whilst the others are doing something else.
Yeah, they'll appear at points in the campaign, and also they'll seem to randomly appear if you're just hanging around.
Yeah, they're definitely a punishment for people taking too much time. Yeah.
What was the other threat? Is it just the tank?
The other threat, of course. Yeah, it's the amazing tank.
He's a big boss type. He can lift up scenery, cars, and big chunks of gravel that magically appear in his hands. And then getting hit by that will, pretty much knock half your health off. So you got to be mindful of him. He's going to take at least 2 or 3 full clips of machine gun ammo to take that down.
Yeah, tanks are indeed, as their name states, tanks.
And we're not really spoiling anything at this point, but the finale is you've got to face off against 5 of them at the same time.
Yeah, the finale is that whilst one of you activates the button, you get charged by 5, I think it was 5 tanks, and essentially once you kill those, another tank spawns in randomly until one of your
I think, you
friends
gradually bothered until you finally manage to trigger the end.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 10-year-old game, so I don't think we need to be coy about spoilers. But
people might be like shocked from the spoiler that you had to push a button. next to a
push a button
generator.
on the generator.
Oh,
Go on,
generator!
you watch it. Go to the game, Geki, and watch it. You don't need spoilers
Yeah,
there.
watch the whole campaign.
Whole campaign. We had a full playthrough of that amazing game. It's a decent game otherwise. It's a bit
You ranked it
repetitive.
above average in its overall score.
We did. Yeah, we
Want
did.
to find out what
we
it
did.
was? You can check that out on old youtube.com/Gekidami. Is that the link for that one? Yeah.
It's the link for that.
Check that out. Gekidami spelled the way it said. Gek, I, damn, I.
Yeah.
So that's all for Left 4 Dead. I'll give it a thumbs up from me. I believe
I give
you've
it
also
a,
been playing a game.
So the game I'm currently playing is Yakuza Kiwami. Kiwami means extreme.
Whoa.
It's a remake of the very first Yakuza game using the not the Yakuza 6 engine, which is the latest one on PlayStation 4, but using the same engine as the PlayStation 3 Yakuza games. But this is on PlayStation 4 because it's ported over.
That's confusing. So I take it looks like a PlayStation 3 game, but a bit shinier.
Yeah, pretty much. You see, the thing is that this game came out ages ago in Japan, but it's only came out now in the West.
Oh, the old East-West divide when it comes to games is just horrific.
Especially the Yakuza games, that's for sure. Yakuza 6 comes out in pretty much next year, and it's already been out for ages in Japan.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the Yakuza games are pretty fun. They're very repetitive in like content. There's also just before Yakuza Kiwami came out, Yakuza 0 came out, which I also played. It's a prequel game. It's clearly they've clearly reused a lot from Yakuza 0. The thing about the Yakuza games is that unlike a lot of other open world games where the logic is clearly that each game has to be in a new location, Yakuza doesn't do that. They always have the games in the same location.
But the location looks a bit nicer each time round.
Looks about the same. I mean, Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami, it's pretty much identical. They have had additional maps in some places. Yakuza 0 did have a part in Kyoto, I believe it was. But it was like a very small map compared to the... I can't remember what the name is. It's the Red Light District in Tokyo, but it's got a name change. I
so
literally
it's like
can't
its
remember it right
own
now.
kind of fictional
Yeah.
version of it.
Yeah, but they didn't actually do that for other places. Yakuza 6 apparently also has other places in it, which are, have no name change.
So when you say map, you mean like free roaming, like
Oh yeah, so
Grand
this is
Theft
an
Auto?
open world game. It's not like Grand Theft Auto. There's no vehicular stuff in it. It's very RPG-ish, more like. I'd say it's more like navigating around the city in, say, Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay. So it's a bit more about the people rather than mowing them down with a car.
Yeah, definitely that. But it does have random encounters. Well, you can actually see guys walking around and they'll spot you and run up to you and fight you. In which case the game will enter like a combat mode. Real-time combat, real-time fighting. It's not, it's not turn-based or anything.
So when you mention combat mode, does that mean?
I mean combat mode, and I mean that once you're standing around the street, you can't randomly punch the air. You have to be locked in the fight with other characters.
Right.
To fight. So the game offers four combat styles, I should say. One is kind of locked away through progress. And they're exactly the same combat styles as in Yakuza 0.
Oh, so this game is largely a remake of the original Yakuza, but with assets from Yakuza 0 to pad it out?
Yeah. I haven't actually played the original Yakuza, which did come out in the West. It was on PlayStation 2. I didn't play Yakuza 2, which never came out in the West. I have played Yakuza 3, and I have played Yakuza 4. I didn't play Yakuza 5 because it did actually come out in the West, but it came out in the West just as the PlayStation 4 came out, and it was on PlayStation 3. So I made the jump, and I didn't play it.
What was it?
Yakuza 6 has yet to come out.
What was it that drove you to kind of pick up this series halfway through?
I got Yakuza 3 secondhand. And I just kind of heard about it. and thought, yeah, it looks pretty interesting. Yakuza 3 is actually pretty bad in the West because it had all of its side content stripped out, I should say. And the reason is because Yakuza are like crazy Japanese games. They're really, really based around Japanese culture. And then Sega's, so they're made by Sega, and Sega's reasoning at the time was that the West would not understand it. So they essentially gutted it.
I hate that
with anything
reasoning.
but the story.
I understand to an extent because, yes, in practical sense, when they feel that something isn't understood, they probably find it won't make that much money. Yes, some people are going to understand it like us, but not everyone. It's not going to sell as well as they would otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the Yakuza games don't really sell all too well in the West. They're kind of just releasing it for the fans at this point. I remember one guy at Sega apparently said at one point, in regards to someone asking that something be released, that he pointed out on Twitter that this tweet has literally more retweets than one of the Yakuza games has sales in the West.
Huh. Yeah. I guess when
it was like 100,000 or something.
You go out and try this thing, you get a little bit shaky about it. Like, ooh,
yeah.
not gonna sell that anymore.
Yeah, I think it's probably reasoning as to why Sega still hasn't released Phantasy Star Online 2 in the West.
Oh yes, that's that game that's been in the pipeline for many years.
Yeah, and that you can see a playthrough, well, not a playthrough, a little bit of playthrough on Game Geki.
Yeah, maybe
back
one
to
day.
Yakuza.
Yes.
Back to Yakuza. So the Yakuza 3, they stripped out all the Japanese stuff, and they had it back in Yakuza 4. And I think they kind of understood that the people who buy this game like Japanese culture. And that is really apparent in Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami, because essentially what they've really have done here is not only have they left all the content in, but now they've kind of included the Japanese elements into the translation. So it's like Kazuma-chan, this character Kum, Chana, and that kind of stuff.
I think Japanese kind of culture and fan sort of thing has exploded over the last 10 years.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
An obscene degree that I don't realistically think they have to worry as much about that anymore.
No.
They probably still will, but...
No, yeah. I don't know. I think Yakuza's definitely embraced it. Sega's definitely embraced it with Yakuza. They've definitely recognised that that is where the sales lie in this. I don't want to say weeaboo in the weeaboo sale. I guess it's kind of the weeaboo sale.
Could you imagine if you were a fan who loved Yakuza 3, the Western version, and then you play 4 or 5 or whatever, and you're like, oh god, why have they gone all weird?
I mean, the plot's still the same tone. It's more the side content, and I guess where some people might take offense is like the cabaret club stuff to do with like the dating stuff in the game.
Oh, so it's got
the game has like dance shows, and it has Yakuza 0, for instance, has Yakuza 0 is set in 1985, I think.
The Grey Sister years.
It's called the bubble era, the bubble currency era in Japan, because Japan was booming. Its economy was.
Oh.
And it's quite interesting. I didn't actually know about that, and I learned that from the games.
Oh, a bit of history. Nice.
It's got like these. So the Yakuza games rely heavily on Japanese guest star appearances at this point.
Huh.
So there's like real actors in it, and these real idols, as they call them in Japan.
Oh, so this is like them, a bit like Kim Kardashian, but for the Japan version.
They're kind of like that, I guess. I'm not entirely familiar with this whole idol thing in Japan, but I know that it exists, and I know that Yakuza has them. And so in these side missions, you get these idols who play a role. And as you encounter them in the game, you also therefore unlock a video of them, essentially in a skimpy outfit.
Oh my god.
Their real-life counterpart, essentially doing sexy poses in this skimpy outfit. It was amazing because there's a trophy related to it, and it's called I Did It for the Trophy.
Whoa.
So I got that trophy. And then I did it for the trophy.
There you go, everyone. Gekidami did it for the trophy.
I Did it
So
for the
you
trophy.
could watch
I watched
some-
them all, but there was no trophy related. I was really hoping there was a trophy related for watching them all.
No.
Yeah, but there wasn't. So you know.
Did you watch them all again over and over just
Actually, I
to
didn't watch them all, but
be
I
sure?
watched them all over and over. And it's amazing because once the video's finished, it shows a picture of a tissue box, and you hear the character go, "Ugh."
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're really sexual games in a way.
Well,
There's also dating cabaret. The dating was a lot worse, I remember, in Yakuza 4. In this one, it's pretty standard. There's also like a massage mini game in Yakuza 4. I find the mini games are kind of toned down. And the big disappointment is that in Yakuza 0 they had the arcade where you could play Outrun, you could play Afterburner, and you could play pretty much all the arcade games you could play in Shenmue actually. And in Yakuza Kiwami, there are no arcade games.
So it's kind of just like a really skinned down. Well, I guess in
does.
Yakuza 1, where it's based off, were there any mini games in that?
I don't know actually. I don't think there definitely weren't arcade games. There were probably mini games. I'm not entirely sure. There aren't really any new mini games though compared to Yakuza 0.
Oh, how much
One
was
thing I will-
Kiwami? Was it as much as Yakuza 0?
These were reduced. No, these are like reduced price games. Both of them were.
No.
They don't cost full price games. They're not full price games, which is good. But they offer hours of content. I mean, these are full length games. Otherwise,
No. It's,
you can spend easily like 200 hours in the Yakuza game. I think I had over 100 hours in Yakuza 0, just from doing the side missions and.
and
all
how
that.
about Kiwami? How many hours did you put in that? Or have you not done it yet?
I'm not finished it yet. I probably already got over at least over 30 hours.
Well, it seems like even in their lightest of games, there's enough to keep you going.
Yeah, just to touch up on the lack of content in Kiwami, it's some of the content, the lack of content is unwelcome, like the lack of the arcade games. Some of it is really welcome though. Yakuza 0 dragged on. Oh my god, did it drag on? Yakuza 0 had two mini games, right? It had this this estate agent mini game where you had to buy territory around the city, and then level it up, level each building up, and then do like money battles and there was like missions in between, and then also had a cabaret thing where you had to manage a cabaret club, and they were just so long and so boring.
So it gets you with a lot of repetition to eke
Yeah.
out them hours.
And Yakuza Kiwami does feel like it shaved off all the rubbish.
Maybe that's what they were going for. They wanted a more
I hope so, yeah.
streamlined approach.
Yeah, it does really feel streamlined.
So,
But yeah,
is that your summary? Would you say to sum up this game?
my summary is that the Yakuza games are good. They're really good. They have like this really serious drama-y Japanese main plot, and then they have like these outlandishly crazy side missions.
Yeah, to keep you entertained on the edge.
Yeah, and the writing's funny. The plot is good. The Yakuza game is just really good. I really like them. Apparently, Japan was a bit disappointed with Yakuza 6. That comes out sometime next year. I'll be getting it. Yakuza 6 uses a brand new engine. It's a lot more faster. It looks more like a more modern Western open world game in its gameplay.
So maybe that's very changed up the formula of it to the point where the main fan base are alienated.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Well, I think...
Apparently, there are also rumours. Just to finish up on this, apparently there are also rumours that they're going to release HD remasters of Yakuza 3, 4, and 5.
Nah, so that you can play the whole thing. Well,
Yeah.
near enough.
If they release it in the West, yeah.
Except for 2.
Except for 2. Oh wait, no, I didn't mention 2 is getting remade as well, fully, like the first one,
Oh.
in the Yakuza 6's engine, so the PlayStation 4 engine.
I suppose now you can point on that. They are doing that pretty much with every game series that's gone on. They've rebuilt for the current generation. Like Resident Evil, they've remade every game, or if they haven't yet, they will be. And again,
Well,
it's
yeah,
2
yeah,
that's the one that's
Resident Evil 2 is the one that's getting fully remade. Yeah.
That's all the
And,
others have been HD'd, apart from
yeah.
a couple of. That's all we got time for today, I think. And
Yes.
thank you very much for filling in for the good old Leon.
Yes, I hope I was up to the task.
And well, that's all we've got time for. So I will see you guys next time on the Not Quite Serious podcast. I've been Dan, and that's been Gekidami. Goodbye.